Hi, it's Filo. Welcome back. Today I'm saying goodbye to my very well-loved first reading journal, which was this vintage rose with craft paper from Notebook Therapy. I'll do a proper flip through of my 2024 reading spreads at the end of the year. And today I'm starting a brand new reading journal, which is also from Notebook Therapy. It's called Midnight Garden, and it has a very soft cover again, and gilded edges, and white paper. So I'm keeping a few covers from my physical TBR in the back pocket. And I'm gluing the first page that doesn't open flat. So I'm setting up this reading journal in a very minimalist way. A big sticker to set up the mood on the name page, and I'm stamping my name, and that's pretty much it because I won't look at this page very often. So then we go straight to the index, and I don't do any collection because I don't want to put pressure on myself to read certain books. I usually read whatever I feel like reading, and I don't do challenges or bingo boards. So yeah, usually I read maybe 2 to 5 books each month, so I don't even do monthly covers. But I really love watching those setup videos. They're just not spreads I would use. So I skip that and I go directly to my spreads about the books I read, and that's it. But in case you want some ideas for your own reading journal, here is a list you can screenshot if you want. Here in the index, I'm using the Academia washi tape from the Washi Tape Shop at the top and the Our Story washi tape from Notebook Therapy at the bottom. Oh, and a cute letter sticker from Journalsay. You'll find everything linked below in the description. Off camera, I did another index spread, exactly the same, because I think I can fit 60 to 70 books in this notebook before it gets very chunky with all the papers and stuff I put in it. But I have to say that the spine in these notebooks is really sturdy. And now let's talk about the books I read in June. So first I read The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Last year I read The Night Circus by the same author, so I wanted to read The Starless Sea this year. Here we follow Zachary, who finds a mysterious book relating an event of his own life nobody witnessed. So he goes on a quest. So there's an element of mystery and adventure. And this one is a Narnia and Alice in Wonderland inspired tale with doors to a subterranean world where stories are kept and protected. So it's very much a book about stories in all shapes and form, with stories within books within a book. It's a tale about lost opportunities and how you choose your own path in life. The beginning is very much story dumping, with tales, fables, and setting up the atmosphere and meeting the characters. And she's a great storyteller, but the stories only start to intertwine and connect well into the book. Like in The Night Circus, it's very atmospheric. We explore the world through the senses. But contrary to The Night Circus, where the circus develop along the story, here in The Starless Sea it feels very repetitive, and there's not really a point to it more than the endless possibilities of stories. Here you have a beautiful atmosphere of an underground library. There are lots of elements that appear everywhere in the book, like bees, keys, and swords. that don't seem to serve any purpose other than aesthetic, and everything is intended to be a metaphor, but sometimes it's not that clear what the metaphor represents. The plot felt all over the place to me, with so many plot lines colliding with no real goal. Towards the end, there are very smart twists that felt like incredibly original potential endings, but she doesn't really land any, which I guess is the point, but it felt very frustrating instead. So all in all, it's a book that relies too much on the atmosphere, and to me the stories within stories got confusing. It had so much potential, but in the end I rated it 2.5 stars. Then I read 2 novellas by Stefan Zweig, an Austrian author. I remember reading 24 Hours in the Life of a Woman by him in high school, and I found it really interesting. This time I read Chess Story, which is very famous. Here a man embarks upon a ship from New York to Buenos Aires. He overhears that the chess world champion is also aboard, so he intends to play a game with him, but the guy is arrogant and distant, so that leads him to meet other chess amateurs, and among them a mysterious player that could be a new champion. But who is he, and how did he learn chess? Important side note here, you don't need to know anything about chess. There's nothing technical in this story. It's all very much psychological, focused on the 2 main players and their particular circumstances and motivations. The 2 main players have absolute opposite backgrounds and personalities, but some circumstances may change everything, and the game means totally different things to them. So that's the kind of story you read in an afternoon, but leaves you thinking for a while. This is also the last novella Zweig wrote before his tragic death, and he knows how to make you feel for the main character, how to expand or reduce his world. Here I used printable chessboard paper and stickers from Etsy, and then I brought out all the new washi tapes the Washi Tape Shop kindly sent me, starting with this new collection with famous cityscapes, in this case New York. It's a PET tape with pre-cut stickers. If you own PET tapes, you know what I mean. Usually on PET tapes you have to cut the designs yourself, but here finally they're all pre-cut, which makes it so easy to use and it saves a ton of time. So thank you so much to the Washi Tape Shop for this innovation and for sending me all those new washi tapes. You'll see a bunch of other washi tapes in the following spreads, and since I'm an affiliate with the Washi Tape Shop, here is my code you can use for a discount. Then I read Letter from an Unknown Woman, another novella by Stefan Zweig. It's very short, barely 80 pages, but it still deserved its own spread in my reading journal. On his 41st birthday, a famous author receives a letter from an unknown woman. She sincerely tells him her story, a sad and piteous story about obsession. She's not very likable, but somehow Zweig manages to make her endearing, and at the end you're left pretty much like the recipient of this letter, understanding and deeply touched, looking in front of you with the letter still in your hand. Zweig is really a master at psychological fiction, and it's really approachable, so if you're looking for a short classic that makes you think, I recommend those. Here I used 2 new washi tapes from the Washi Tape Shop, the Paris Charm and the London Fog washi stickers. They're PET transparent tape and they're pre-cut, but like the first one I showed you before, you can also find them on washi paper if you prefer. This story is set in Vienna actually, but I found that the Paris and London tapes just fit perfectly, and they even had all the elements of the story I wanted to feature here. The story is so short, I can't really tell you more without giving you spoilers, but what I can tell you is that I found it deeply moving and very original. And I'm still thinking about it, so I gave it 4 stars because I know it will stay with me. Next, I read I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. She's a Belgian author, so this was originally published in French with the title Moi qui n'ai pas connu les hommes. And since French is my first language, I read it in French. I heard a few booktubers rave about this book, so I had to try. And it's also short, under 200 pages. It's a dystopia with a very strange premise. We have 40 women imprisoned in a cage in a bunker for years. They remember their past lives, but they ignore why and how they ended up here. One of them, though, is a teenager. She has no recollection of her childhood outside, but she's also the most curious and inquisitive, and she's the reason why their whole world changes. So you guess it, it's another psychological mystery. I really loved the first part of the book where you can see more of her determination and her curiosity. That part was really well done. And I also feel like the biggest part of the message lies there. Then it became more repetitive and underwhelming. And I'm sure everything is totally intentional here, but I felt like it was missing something spiritually and emotionally. To me, the characters lacked the complexity of the human mind, and that's what made it profoundly hopeless, in my opinion. So I don't know, if you'd like to read about what goes through a human mind when we're robbed of our freedom, I would say read Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. She did a wonderful job at it. It's historical fiction, and I feel like it's way more complete, and it's based on true events, but the tone is definitely hopeful. And the last one I read was No One Writes to the Colonel by Gabriel García Márquez. It's set in Colombia in the magical realism universe of 100 Years of Solitude, which I read last year and absolutely loved. A retired colonel and his wife barely scrape out enough money to survive under a dictatorship. Their only hopes are the letters that come every Friday by boat and their son's rooster that the whole town is preparing for a fight. It's actually very light on magical realism. It's more metaphorical, and I think that makes it perfect for a broader audience than 100 Years of Solitude. It's a beautiful parable about injustice, corruption, poverty, shame, and dignity that reminded me of The Pearl by Steinbeck, actually. I really love those parables that explore strong feelings, values and morals you don't hear or read about every day. The characters are truly admirably strong and true to themselves even in the face of despair. And without any spoilers, the end left me absolutely speechless. To illustrate this spread, I've used the new Metro and Meadow washi stickers by the Washi Tape Shop. And it's time for the final flip through. I'm so happy with my new reading journal and with those spreads. Some books I loved, some I didn't, but I'm happy I read them all because most of them were really interesting. So tell me your thoughts and recommendations in the comments and leave me this emoji. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you again to the Washi Tape Shop for sending me their new pre-cut washi tapes, and don't forget to use my code. I'll see you in the next one, and until then, enjoy reading!